allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Again, welcome. Welcome to our new member. And I'm sure you'll be a quick study and you'll catch up on everything we've done forever, right? Something like that. But we're very proud to be the Cable Advisory Committee. We're very proud that we completed a new contract with the Charter. We're very proud that they finally signed the contract. At least we heard that. And so we're moving forward. And tonight we're going to really focus on what John is planning for the next year. We have a guest with us tonight. Carrie Kuna is here. She's expressed a lot of interest in how cable works and how for the town and how it helps the town communicate. So I'm going to give her a chance to talk a little bit about what she's doing specifically with social media. And she sat with Shauna Schufeld and myself when we waited and waited and waited and waited some more for election night, and learned that if people could email us and ask questions, there was a lot of exchange and excitement and all of that. So we'll talk a little bit about that because we all have, to stay engaged in how we can continue to improve the services to the community. So, Carrie, I thought we would talk, you could talk a little later, but if you want to come and sit up here and join us, so you don't have to get up. John is recording and talking and doing it all, so that might just be easier for sightlines. John?
Do you want to approve the minutes first?
Yeah, I want to get the minutes. Have you all had a chance to study and read the minutes carefully? Yes. And does anyone have a
I make a
problem?
motion to approve the meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. If you would like to have a copy of the minutes, Jason, if you don't have them, I'll make sure you get a copy.
They did get emailed to me, I reviewed them.
Great. I think we're going to move on and talk a little bit and talk about John so we have enough time because people have tight schedules. We have another member that has another meeting, and then we'll go back because I think it'll fit better. So let's skip over. We've done a brief introduction, and then John, anything you want to add to the agenda that says discussion of new cable contract and request for HD channel? As far as we know, it's moving smoothly and everything has happened. We've had no complaints so far, correct?
As far as I know, correct?
In the HD channel?
No, that's just yeah.
Yeah, I actually suggested that we add that to the agenda. So that's actually in the new contract. However, we have to formally request it through either the select board or the town administrator. So the caveat is that we have to give up one of our standard definition channels. So the way it's written in the contract, and I don't have a copy of the language, I should have printed that out, but we give up one SD channel and are given an HD channel in place of it. That's how they worded it. So there's no charge for it. There's just the decision that needs to be made in terms of which channel are we going to give up. And I think it's a matter of, we have three channels. We have the educational channel, we have the government channel, and we have the public access channel. In my mind, you definitely don't want to give up the government channel. You do not want to give up the educational channel. The public access channel, depending on how active it is, that programming could be shifted onto those other two channels, or even aired on the HD channel if needed.
It sounds like there's some conversation involved in how best to do that, right?
Yeah, that's good to know. It's good to know.
So I'll pull the
do.
language out
Yeah.
from the contract, and again, I apologize.
I have it here, I'll dig it out.
Yeah, it's in that section of the channels. in the cable, in the public access end of it.
Yeah.
So I think we should probably think about that. And
I already
we don't have to
I already have thoughts on which would be the HD channel, and if we decided to
Do you
take
want
that
to share
option.
them with the committee about how you want to do that?
Well, no, I just think if we're gonna, one of the channels is gonna be HD, I think it should be the education channel, because that's more of like an action channel compared to just meetings. I mean, meetings don't, the picture looks good now, it's fine, we don't need high-def meetings. I think with basketball and sport games and
Okay, so
everything that goes on at the school, I think that would look really awesome in high-def, more so than a meeting.
I would think we would need to make an explanation if we were taking this to the select board, why we're doing it now. I don't think it's uppermost in their mind right now with town meeting. So do you think we should move on this right now into May? Or do you think we should wait till later to make switches? Is there staffing things involved?
Well,
or-
no, staffing's not gonna have an issue, just let me mull it over for a little bit.
I think
just heard
this,
about it
yeah,
now.
I agree. I think the committee should kind of just think about the whole
Okay.
aspect of it. And I do think if we can at least initiate the letter, maybe in the June meeting,
Yeah,
so
I'm
that the
thinking-
letter gets sent out, we can always decide how to allocate the programming
Okay,
after, because you know the way, or we know the way cable works so far in terms of just getting things done.
great.
I think, we'll wait probably another year before we see the channel, if we don't ask for it.
Yeah, and I would like to have it into the selectmen in June, before summer starts. So if you would give me a draft that involves the things that you are thinking about, which are the simple, we're gonna eliminate one that we have, but we're gonna maintain through high definition. I'll make sure we get that done, and I was gonna suggest we meet in June again, so I think we can maybe explore that. I haven't heard that Steve was not coming, but we can also talk to him about making sure that happens, so we'll keep it moving forward.
I agree with Renee. I don't think this has anything to do with town meeting or how busy the selectmen are. This is almost, if they write the letter, after that, it's John doing it, right?
Right.
So it doesn't put work on their lap.
And their mind is full of town meeting right now and how that's all gonna happen, so we don't need to add to the confusion, but I expect to have information so we can get a letter out and begin the conversation, and then the waiting is up to whomever, John and the rest of us, so, okay. And as far as we know, the contract, we have a signed contract, but we have not confirmed with the town treasurer how the process is actually, so we'll have that in June also. We'll have an update on where we are with the reserves and whether the payments are coming in. If we could get an update on the number of subscribers too, John, and we should be able to do that between now and June.
I can do that, and then
Yeah.
by the time this meeting's over.
But I would like to just move along to your report, because you're working on the next year, and I think that's what's important for us.
So, I handed out, I don't know if everyone got them, Donald probably didn't get one. At the last meeting, I was asked to, pass it down to Donald, please. So, Jay, I don't know if you weren't here, so I'm sure you didn't watch our last meeting.
It's different.
The board's been asking me to, and now that we don't need a full public channel probably anymore, so they'd wanted to see a lot of new content on the public channel, more things around Westport, and I totally agree with that. And I have a former student, we've been going out doing stories, we're banking 4 or 5 stories already, and I'd like to build that channel with local stories. And I mean, that's my background, was doing like news segments and news stories like that. The teaching at the high school, I made a proposal, I'm down to 1 class, and what I proposed to the board last time, and they liked it, they just wanted updated job descriptions, that's what I just passed out, was to see, and this, of course, this would have to go before Laura, the principal, and probably the school committee too, but is for us to pay someone to teach my class for the year. It's only 180 hours a year, because it's 1 hour a day. And that would relieve me of teaching at the school. I still want a presence in the school. I think I'd be better served having interns that want to do this, that want to get into TV and media. I can help them directly, 1 or 2 each term, doing it that way, as opposed to getting a classroom of 10, 15 kids, 9 or 10 who don't want to be there. I think that'd better serve my time. So the proposal would be me getting out of teaching, if it's okay with the school, me retaining the TV studio at the school to work with my interns, to have the place for where my reporter can come in, we can finish up our stories, and just make that a full-fledged TV studio as opposed to what I'm doing now. I'd still, like I said, still have a presence in the school. I'd still be seen. I'd still be there for any kids that wanted to do this. And at the last meeting, like some of the members just asked me, can you get 2 job descriptions? So the director position, that's me. It's pretty much what I was. Excuse me, I just altered a few things. And the news reporter production assistant position, we have an increase in the town, in our budget for the proposed budget for next year is on the town meeting warrant, and we increased the pay for a position. The pay is actually going to be added to what my camera kids get now, and that position would be filled by, the kids would still do it, but we would hire a new either news reporter production assistant position, and the duties are right there on the sheet. So I don't know if this is something we have to vote on, or if this is just...
Your increase will show on the town warrant.
It's already built in as a line item. It's in addition to what we are paying currently for the student interns that do the meetings and the games.
And
So they're not, the kids aren't going to lose anything. We're just going to hire a little.
And just so we're clear, there is a cable reserve fund that comes out of the money that's been accumulated from charter. We haven't spent every year, all the amount. So we're not asking the town for more funding.
No, exactly. So if the town's watching right now, this, not 1 cent comes out of the town budget. This is all cable money that contractually has to be used for the 3 PEG channels we have. So even if I wasn't here, the town couldn't dip into that and take it. It's got to be used for this.
And I think that it's very important that we're prepared to speak to that issue at town meeting, because I do think that there's, constant concern about any increase.
Mm-hmm.
But this increase is coming directly out of reserves that are for the funds that you're asking.
It's for us. Legally, it has to be spent on this department.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm in favor of all of this, but I think it's really important to set the optics right for this, right? Because in essence, it's an expansion of the program. You're expanding the program because, as people like myself who have been in the industry know, you really can't run a television station with just one person. And even a high school program, you need to have somebody in the classroom. Sometimes, you have reporters out in the hallways doing stories. You have field trips that you want to go on to do the types of programs that you want to do.
Yep.
So I think it's important to almost not say you're getting out of the teaching role. You're actually mentoring somebody else into that role of teaching, and you're almost the, if you will, executive producer, or the producer that's in charge of working with students in the field, right?
No way are you leaving the position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my only thought with it, I think,
Right, I'm not
It's a matter
there.
of perception, how people perceive this.
Yeah, I think we need to be prepared to speak at town meeting if it comes up. I think that's really important, because it is very confusing, because the information about how cable is funded is sort of in the paper somewhere. I also think the comment you made, John, about expanding local programming is really important. And if anybody wants to reinforce that, we'll talk a little when we talk with Carrie, but that we really need the community to know these are Westport programs. And some are more interesting than others, but they are all important information about how the community is doing its business. John, is there anything that you really want to add to your report about how things are changing, or all the concerns you had last year about equipment? Is things caught up to date? You're able to do the work you want to do?
Yeah, equipment's not an issue. One thing that we are gonna, I don't know if we're gonna talk about it later with Gary, but we wanna get this room here in the annex where Valerie works out of to be more of a open space if there's any volunteers that wanna come in and either, edit their stories or work on programming, because we always need volunteers. And that would mean just giving equipment, loaning equipment out if needed to people in the town, and then having them come in here if they needed to edit. So I want to set up a small little workstation in there, and so that's my plan for that room. We're going to hopefully clean out the room. There's a recycle day this Saturday. I'm going to see what they can take. So.
You need help?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask a couple of people that work for me, but it's no guarantee that they'll show up. So
Well,
just
Valerie's
carry
been
down
out.
a few. It's just to carry down a couple of.
Valerie been out for
Boxes.
surgery now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, she can't.
So she'll be back next week?
I haven't spoke to her on, she thought maybe next week, but that, you know how that works, that's all pending.
Because that has made you do double duty, and I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's where this other position would come in. That person could kind of be in a fill-in when, there were 2 meetings last night, and it was kind of hard to be in 2 places at once. I did one, and
And this again is the next 3 months. It's the rest of April, May, June, and then the fiscal year begins. So you're
yeah,
really looking to get this to start in summer.
absolutely, yeah.
Any more questions for John about
Nope.
what he's trying to do?
So would the next step if we're all in favor of this, would the next step be me talk to the principal this week? Or whenever she's available, and run this by her and see what she thinks about that?
Great.
Okay.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
you have no pushback on it. I'm hoping that if you do, you'll ask for our support.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. Great, that's good.
Just one thing,
Yeah, I
I
was
wonder
gonna
if
say-
maybe it's positioned that this is an idea, obviously, that the Cable Advisory Committee supports, right? That should be one of the lines that you say to the principal.
Mhm.
That was my only comment.
Anyone else, Bob? Ellen? Anybody
All
else?
set.
Okay, great.
No.
Right.
Um,
Thank you,
oh,
folks.
I want to, John's been thinking and working at this for a while, and I think it's really important that we get behind and make sure that this happens. I wanted to talk a little with Carrie. Carrie had approached me because I was watching the responses she was making on Facebook to people that were really upset about life in Westport, and they were not very friendly in the way that they were asking questions or being involved. And I do not spend my life on Facebook. I just happen to look once in a while at the Westport sites. And so I asked her why she was doing this and complimented her. And she asked me about cable and what cable does. And the outshoot of that is that we talked about the possibility of expanding her role by sitting on this board. And what I learned is that our Cable Advisory Board has designated membership. It has a representative planning board, representative school committee, representative selectman's office. And so at this time, those are all filled, and there's no way that that can be changed. But we all have a one-year term, which I also thought was interesting. So you have to be reappointed in June. And I think that, that's an interesting time to think about people's continuation. I certainly am thinking about mine. But I want to talk more about what you've learned talking with John, because we had a wonderful interview with John. And Carrie really wasn't, how can I say this, involved with cable until we started this conversation.
Yes.
And then we sat together and we did a coverage for election night. And Shauna was getting emails and you were getting emails, and it was a very interactive evening.
Who cuts you guys off at 10:30?
Say that again?
Who cuts you guys off at 10:30, election night?
We,
You went to
I've had a number of conversations. There is a remote
Oh,
control
that switches
that
over to a
had
bulletin
been
board.
set. Public Access had set it because there was no assumption on anybody's part that we would all be up at 10:30 at night, let alone halfway through
Also,
the
the
election.
bulletin board.
And I talked,
You took a break,
well,
and you came back, and the bulletin board came right on.
she had, I did not understand that anything. We did not understand
Somebody
this.
was
So I think the whole thing about public access, there's a lot more steps to be known. But the reality was, we were turned off the air at 10:30 because nobody expected us to be on. And I'm every day learning how complicated it is, even though YouTube is a wonderful resource for us. I can't get access to it. Things are unavailable. And I can get access to social media morning, noon, and night. I don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's why I think we have
We're
to
gonna
really
look, I'm gonna
start-
look at that with you.
Hmm?
We'll look at your YouTube issue after the meeting, because there's,
Yeah, yeah, well, maybe it is an issue
Yeah.
just with my computer, but if it's me, it's probably somebody else. And what people wanted were information. We could not that night provide them with election results. And it's a really complicated thing because people were telling me,
I think they didn't get till about 5 or 12, your results, almost close to midnight.
they were coming in as we were talking, and people were saying that I could run around to all the precincts and gather all the town clerk's responsible for that. So cable's responsibility, if we sponsor a public program, is to not run it ourselves, but to be part of the town. How could we post results that we got from some precinct without talking to the town clerk? It was a lot more complicated than it had been. It was fun
Town
last
clerk,
year.
if you went onto the town website, it was 11:55 when you gave the results.
We gave the results, they gave the results to Valerie, and I think she actually stayed there. We decided that the people listening to our conversation probably had gone to bed. I don't know if that's true or not, but, at 11 o'clock at night, there's other things to think about than, if you're not running for office. But I just wanted to give Carrie a little bit of time to talk about what you've been doing with social media, because where we are right now is we're talking with the technology program that the Council on Aging is doing and beginning to see if we can weave a way to expand the ways for people to have quicker access to information.
And safe
I don't
access.
really totally know what I'm talking about. So I think it's really important that other people speak to the issues, okay?
Sure. I started my groups just to get people involved. Because like this department, it's you and Valerie. So I hope I can help in some way. I'm very technical. I think it's time to merge the two a little bit.
Find a way.
Yeah.
But what's actually happening when you're talking about merging? You and John are, running total. You're responding to what social media is. You have Westport sites that people can go on and say whatever they want to say. What you've been doing is linking to the YouTube channel so people can actually have access
Yes.
to the programs. There are all the questions about planning or whatever, because a lot of people don't realize that they can actually use YouTube to have access to that information. So this is kind of a in-between bridge. And that's
trying
the
to,
important part of this.
yeah, I'm trying to get to the younger generations, the potential voters, like my thing said.
You told me you did some of this work in New Bedford.
Computer class
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah.
I did. I worked for a nonprofit and taught basic computer courses, how to use the computer, resume writing, interviewing, and things like that. So teaching Facebook and social media privacy and safety, it won't be an issue.
Renee, you probably are the best translator here because you understand how
Yeah.
little I understand and how hopeful
You're
I
doing
am.
great. You're doing great. And I think, what it comes down to, and I think, Carrie and John are operating on different platforms, obviously, but it's all about content. It's all about the message. It's all about education and information and getting that out to the people that should have it, i.e. our town residents. So I think it's, it's a good idea to have a presence on social media. I think I've talked to you about that before, having, the community channels on Facebook. There's nothing wrong with sharing, content across the board. It's another avenue. And there may be more. It may not just be Facebook. I know a lot of the younger generation, I mean, my daughter's 24 years old and she's not on Facebook anymore. So there are other avenues, Twitter or X or whatever you want.
Snapchat, yeah.
People
But there
want
are
that communication.
Absolutely.
And they want it as instantaneously, but it's like having a library of books. Nobody wants to open a book. And it's all there if you want it or you know how to find it. And my experience is sometimes I can't get access to it. The doors are closed. So there's a number of steps, and I think the first step you were talking about is helping to educate people about the pitfalls of
Yes.
getting involved in all of this.
Yes.
'Cause,
Security, so people, their data is safe, their personal data, and maybe just something about trolls and how to not engage with other people. Just being safe in general.
John, do you see a way that, I mean, you've talked with Carrie, so you've heard her ideas, but do you see a way that as we reach out to see, broaden the audience of people that will use social media to get information, that we can coordinate with cable? Do you think has a possibility for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a way to like Renee said, to merge the two somehow.
Yeah, I mean, even, Carrie, maybe coming in to speak to your students about responsible use, right? How to, and using the terms that you said, like, security and trolls and and I'm sure some of these kids probably know what that stuff is already, but they don't necessarily know the right from the wrong.
Correct. Yeah.
And so they can go down either path. They can actually be a
It's
troll.
adults in town that are really taking advantage. You just ran for office. You ran for office. Everybody is, responding to people. You just were on a committee that was pushed back a little bit.
I'm sort of to my, I think getting facts out, but you understand that once you enter that field, it's just full of garbage. It's just full of absolute, total nonsense. People make up stuff. They just say, oh, this is, they're doing the zoning to do, whatever. They have all these kind of things. And the idea of, no one sits down and says, listen, these are the economic trends. And no one, there's no peaceful conversation about these are the economic trends and directions in the town. The town, every single year, the town meeting faces a budget crisis. And how Proposition 2.5, how that cap works. And that if you look at as badly as the town needs money to do things, last year our tax rate was $8.16 a thousand, which is extraordinarily low. I know this is all heresy, like taxes, my God, taxes, and it's just like, as soon as you say that word, the Facebook is filled with, what are they doing? And no one sees, taxes are the purchase of services that you can't do on your own. That is, an individual cannot clean up the Westport River. An individual cannot treat the PFAS in the drinking water, and only a community solution can do those kinds of things. And no one, that conversation doesn't exist.
Right. When I first joined this committee, Bob,
And-
every meeting was filled with the complaints that people had for their subscription. And it was about which programs they could or couldn't get. It was an ongoing saga of complaints. And I began to think, why did I get involved in this? I can find complaints, I don't have to look very hard to find complaints in my life.
But I think
It took us a while to recognize, and you were a leader in articulating that we provide amazing service to the community. We allow people to communicate what's going on. And that's, I think, over the bridge that I'm talking about. How can we find better ways for people to communicate beyond this inbred anger that exists?
If we didn't have if we didn't have the government channel during COVID, we would not have been able to conduct the people's business, or it would have been done essentially in private. That is, I guess the planning board could actually have, everyone get on a loop and vote, but how, you see, there are some boards in this town that have the Conservation Commission, the Board of Health, the Planning Board. We actually get applications. We actually do the people's business. Applications come in, we have to review them, we have consultants that review them, we get these materials, so we have to work. And but for having the government channel in which we were able to broadcast that work, the government would have been essentially done in secret.
I realize you talk about people, you don't want nothing done. Remember I told you about Charter, about 2 years ago, I got a call from them, their proactive group, they call. Do I want my house go all over, checked everything, the cables, the connectors, free. And I said, okay, I got an email, too, same thing. 2 days later, the guy spent 3 hours at the house. Replaced all the connectors, all the cables, gave me a new modem. Your mine is old. Upgraded me from 100 megahertz to 350. No problem. I said, how come
We have not had.
people don't, we call them and they don't bother. They don't want us to be bothered. That's the one problem we have here.
We have not had people call
You know,
and say, Don, you're the
Guys, for
one.
3 hours.
You're
No charge, and
the
they-
you're the
They improve
spokesman.
the service.
You,
And people are turning it down. And they're complaining to get that
See,
service.
they don't
Yeah.
know. That's where I'll come
You're
in
the-
and I'll
you're the
make
one
sure
that sits on
everybody
this
finds out.
committee and really watches that we do get service if things are happening.
Right.
But I think a lot of people spend their time talking about these services as some kind of a pain that they
Well,
have
so
to
they
put
can
up
tell.
with for some reason.
Get the same
I think the
attitude.
government
You won't
services are the
refer to
same way.
Oh, you
What
wanna be
what
bothered.
I'm looking for is to
We have to take some time to do it.
tap into people in this community that are trying to expand positive communication. I would think the schools should want to be part of it. I certainly think this committee has to be very much in the leadership of saying, we're not just taking a video so you can see who's playing football. We're showing you what the school is all about. We're showing you what volunteers are doing. And there has to be some way for people to feedback. Most people don't watch. They don't pay attention in the age groups that we're talking about. We're saying, 40 to 60?
18 to 60.
Yeah. And how do we capture them in a way that understands? Because there's a lot of wonderful, I have entertained myself watching local Westport community TV. It provides calm but interesting entertainment some evenings. And we're glad that it's done. So that's why I invited Carrie to come tonight, and I think this conversation needs to be continued.
Yeah, to Bob's point, I think it's about transparency to the residents of what their government is doing.
Yeah.
And also, what's going on in the schools. And I think that's an education as well for parents and for people that are footing the bill for that brand new building to understand exactly what's happening in that building.
I mean, every government meeting and every committee meeting is actually televised.
And there's
Yeah.
creative programming going on. Steve Spores, the moderator, is doing a series of broadcast conversations. It was at his initiative, and it looks a little bleak, the little bit I saw. Two serious people sitting at a serious table talking serious business. But, you know, we could add some flowers or do something to soften it a little bit, but they might really be heard. And they'll be on YouTube, and you could put them on others, social
Yes.
media sources.
And I'll avoid that one group, that one page that just is angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where we're at, and I think there's ways. So I don't really want to take a long time on this, but I want this to be a continuing conversation. And that leads me into, were you given any directions when you were offered the opportunity to join this happy group?
Not much besides the fact of the first meeting being tonight, and then I did receive the email with the minutes that we approved earlier and the agenda for tonight. So, you know, just my first meeting, kind of taking it all in. And I do like the idea, obviously, of kind of bridging that gap with social media and Carrie and John and the outreach, obviously, to, you know, the younger population, I think
Well,
is
you might be an
super important.
interesting connection because Carrie doesn't have kids in school, but you know about the schools, and John is there all the time, and there might be a way to have more conversation. I'm taking it to the Council on Aging because that's an exciting place in town too. We're teaching technology, and people are taking advantage of that. That leads me to the fact that our appointments end in June. We are given only 1 year to be spectacular, and we have done that. So if you want to be reappointed, or if your committee reappoints you, you have to send a letter. And I would think even the school committee has to do that. And I've been chair forever and 2 days, I think. So I think we need to think about maybe a different person being chair. And all of that, I think, should come together in June. So if you would look at your calendars, maybe we can pick a date. We've been meeting on, Sharon, the second Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, the 12th, 19th.
I have June
Can't be my
12th.
anniversary.
Juneteenth's a holiday.
Hmm? No.
June 19th's a holiday.
Yeah.
Juneteenth,
So-
official
that's
holiday
right.
now.
So we should move it up 1 week?
June 12th.
7
is
and
the
9
second
is
Wednesday.
26?
June 12th is the second Wednesday.
Okay. So is June
Tell you
12th a possible date?
Oh,
It's there
yeah.
automatically.
Check your calendars. June 12th, same
All day.
place, same time. John, we'll want to be ready to have a letter for the selectmen. We'll want to have a report on what you've done to get another person in place. Because if we can at least get a letter out about high definition, that'll be a step forward.
I'll help you with that.
Renee, I think you could
I'll
probably.
help them.
And then Carrie, if you and Josh and John could talk
Yes.
once more, maybe you'll have some ideas on that.
Irene, I have subscriber numbers. The subscriber
Yeah.
numbers real quick.
If you have them now, that's
Yep,
great.
right here. 2023, we were 4121, and the year before, 4520, so we lost 400 from 22 to 23,
Yeah, be interesting.
which is almost 10%, right? Is
Yeah,
my
and
math
I think
correct?
that's expected, but I think it'd be interesting to know the use on YouTube for your channel.
Yeah, I can get that as well.
Yeah, because I think that's become, people are more aware of it than they've ever been before. And
Mhm.
you can add that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions? It's been an interesting year, and I think we've got lots of fun ahead. I think the programming part is very exciting, what you can do creatively.
Yeah, I do
Do
too.
we pick a date? Do we pick a date?
The 12th is what our,
Okay,
is that good for you?
Wednesday.
good, yeah.
No complaints? Everybody's on?
Nope.
Super. Maybe we'll have cookies the next time. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?